continue our 5th chapter Bhagavad Gita, Karma Yoga or Action in Krishna Consciousness. And then we studied yesterday. What was the question that Arjun asked Krishna? What was the question that he asked Krishna in the beginning of the chapter? What did he ask?
Arjuna asks Lord Krishna that whether renunciation of work is better or work in devotion, which is better of the two.
Very nice, thank you. And what makes him confused again? More people, everybody.
Because in the second chapter, Lord Krishna tells Arjuna that you have, according to, he tells him that Buddhi Yoga is the best form. Buddhi Yoga or Bhakti Yoga is the best way to reach Krishna. And whereas in the third chapter, Krishna again emphasizes on the fact that one who is in Bhakti and one who's on the devotional path has no duties to perform. So this perplexes Arjuna, because at the end of chapter 4, he tells him, now that you're in full knowledge, oh Arjuna, stand up and fight. So this confuses Arjuna, because action and inaction, Krishna saying finding action and inaction, and then telling him that Buddhi Yoga is the way, and then again telling him that a person who's in devotional service has no duties to perform, perplexes him.
Thank you very much. At least somebody's understood. Thank you. And then now we're going to study, then we studied that how Krishna talks about Nishkam Karma Yoga is superior and defines the definition of a real renunciant, tells the symptoms of a person, for Krishna, sorry, symptoms of a person who is in Nishkam, who is situated in Nishkam Karma Yoga. And then he also talks about the 3 doers. That's where we ended yesterday. 3 doers are the jiva, the material nature, and the super soul. Now the question arises that when one is awakened by the role of these 3 doers of the soul, the material nature, and the super soul, then one obviously takes shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and seeks liberation or attains liberation. So that's when Krishna comes to this, that liberation by focus on the super soul. How can a devotee obtain liberation who has received the knowledge of Nishkam Karma Yoga and also has received the knowledge and understood the knowledge of the 3 doers? So one who in knowledge devotionally fixes his consciousness on super soul and remains materially equipoised and attains liberation in the near future, that person will head towards the liberation. Okay, so then he talks about the gist of this verses is that one who is established in Nishkam Karma Yoga, one who has understood the 3 doers, will try to rejoice within. That person will try to retract the sources of happiness from external to inwards. Okay, and then we'll have develop a propensity to understand more about spirit than about the matter. So tad buddhayas tad atmanas tad nishthas tad parayanaha gachanti apnur avrittam jnana nirduta kalmashaha. When one's intelligence, mind, faith, and refuge are all fixed in the Supreme, then one becomes fully cleansed of misgivings through complete knowledge and thus proceeds straight on the path of liberation. So when this knowledge is used to focus on the super soul, then one can act in transcendental way. Because enlightenment can lead to transcendence if it is focused on the super soul. If it is not focused on the super soul, if it is focused on the Brahman feature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then one will again have a risk of falling down to the material platform because there is no joy there. Okay, so this is the beginning. And then Krishna talks about, like, when focus is on the super soul, how is that personality looking at everything around them? This is going to be the vision of a person who is focused on the super soul. Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Kavihastini Sunicheva Supakavecha Pandita Samadarshina. So the humble sage, by virtue of true knowledge, sees with equal vision a learned and gentle Brahman, a cow, an elephant, dog, and dog eater. So the thing is that the person is above the vision of the person is above the 3 modes of material nature. One who is focused on the super soul. So Learned and gentle Brahman and cow are in the mode of goodness. Elephant is in the mode of passion. Dog and dog eater is in the mode of ignorance. So the person who is situated and in the virtue of true knowledge will have vision beyond the three modes of material nature. Our vision is in the three modes of material nature. So situated in Brahman, when one fixes its consciousness on the super soul, is intelligence, mind, faith, refuge are focused, free from doubts because he has knowledge of the three doers, sees the super soul is sanctioning but impartial, sees with equal vision because he has knowledge, he's not the body, and the knowledge of the super soul. Okay, now this is important to know that what are the symptoms of a self-realized soul. So I'll bring out the next slide has more of a rundown. So Krishna continues to describe, and it is very important in this verse 19, 20, and 21, total 10 symptoms are described of a person who is situated in that particular aspect. Those whose minds are established in sameness and equanimity have already conquered the conditions of birth and death. They are flawless like Brahman, and thus they are situated in Brahman. So they are flawless. Prabhupada explains in the purport the meaning of the word flawless. What does flawless like Brahman mean? What does flawless like Brahman mean?
Sthita Prajna, the
What?
person steady in intelligence, a person without.
Yeah, okay. Well, where does Prabhupada write in the purport? You can read it. Prabhupada writes it in the purport. I hope everyone read and came, because if you're not reading, then
Without attraction or hatred.
very nice. Right. So it's like fixed in. So Prabhupada explains the word flawless like Brahman is that this person is not attracted to something which pertains to the satisfaction of the senses and does not hate or repel something which is against the need of the senses. So is equanimity. So established in sameness and equanimity. See, have conquered the conditions of birth and death. And then Krishna explains that what is that flawless personality looks like. Neither rejoices upon receiving something pleasant, laments upon receiving unpleasant, self-intelligent, unbewildered, no signs of God is to be understood already situated in transcendence. So fixed in intelligence, Krishna says that word as sthita buddhi, unbewildered, asamuddha, knows the signs of God, Brahmavid. I'm just revising and thinking that you all have read and come. And then he explains further, such a person is not attracted to material sense pleasure, which is called asaktatma, asaktatma, always in transcendence, akshayam sukham. In this way, self-realized person enjoys unlimited happiness, for he concentrates on the Supreme. So unlimited happiness is, Krishna explains it as akshayam sukham. So this is just a summary. 19th verse, we understood about the flawless Brahman. So no attraction or hatred to matter, thus he is flawless and impartial like Lord. Equanimity of the mind. So the result is one is considered to have conquered material conditions, specifically birth and death. Thus there is no rebirth, but one can enter into the spiritual sky. How Krishna and we are flawless on spiritual platform, they are free from all attraction and hatred, which makes a living entity eligible for spiritual sky. So we have to understand, are we flawless? Are we advancing in Krishna consciousness by understanding that how much attraction and repulsion we have for the people, the objects, and other things around us in the material sphere, the self-checkpoint. Then he explains in verse 20, being without desire or hatred, one's intelligence does not rejoice or lament. One remains sharp in intelligence, unbewildered, fixed in the self. So you see, the person in Krishna consciousness is able to conserve so much energy in service to Krishna because the modes are not so prominently extracting the human energy. We lose a lot of energy in fighting the modes of material nature. So I give you example, even if somebody doesn't want to sleep, but at the night, mode of ignorance is so prominent that most of us are kind of forced to go to sleep. Yeah? You say, okay, I'm not so tired, I didn't have a busy day, I'm not going to rest. But the mode of ignorance forces. Or when the sun is out, the mode of passion forces a living entity to see what are the things which need attention, and that kind of like there is a fight constantly going on. So what is the solution of that fight? Because we lose so much energy and we don't understand that we don't really use our intelligence in a proper manner for which the intelligence was specifically designed. The solution is to properly conduct sadhana bhakti. Okay, to properly follow the rules and regulations given by one spiritual master, or to flow with the modes, not to fight them, to flow with the mode. For example, early morning time, if given for self-realization, then that's the whole deal of getting this Brahma Muhurat time. And we're not fighting, we're doing what is supposed to be meant at that time. Then between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m., if somebody is focusing on some things which need movement, which need, going here and there, then we are working with the mode of passion. Okay, and then from 4 p.m. to midnight, one is slowing down. And then from midnight to again morning 8 a.m., one is resting the body, but only sufficiently to be able to get up in Brahma Muhurat again, to be able to practice Krishna consciousness again. So these are some of the ways where we can actually reduce our fight. If we follow what Krishna is saying, we actually conserve a lot of our energy. So this person who is not having any desire or hatred doesn't mean that that person has become a Mayavadi, okay? But this person is not illusioned by bodily identification, because desire and hatred or ichha dvesha is this function of the mind. Mind likes something and mind rejects something. So, but that person is not recognizing itself with the mind. The symptom is the basis of not rejoicing or lamenting for material dualities. We are desiring the service to Krishna. We are not desireless. We are not desiring, this person is not desiring something for the material body. Sthita buddhi, steadiness of mind, not rejoice, lament for bodily relations or achievements, based on knowledge that he is not this body but fragmental portion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And bewildered, not misidentify as body, soul, and take body as soul, and or vice versa. And then he says, Saktatma Akshaya Sukham. Being fixed in self, one experiences great happiness within, and thus one is never attracted to temporary sense gratification. One concentrates on supreme and enjoys unlimited happiness. Brahma Yoga stage, one who is absorbed in Krishna consciousness loses taste for sense pleasure. Yeah, we get that, right? The things that were giving sense pleasure before are not pleasurable anymore. For example, drinking tea and coffee, if it was giving pleasure before, does it give pleasure now when you chant Hare Krishna? As long as we are protected by the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, we will remain protected. Otherwise, we will again fall down. Do you have that? Do you have some of the things which were giving pleasure before and now it's like, what was I doing in my life? Do we get that?
Yes, Mataji. Yes.
Yes.
We need to
Especially
have
tea,
that.
coffee.
Okay. Okay, so test in spiritual realization avoids highest material pleasure, sex pleasure. This is Yamunacharya Prabhupada's prayer in this particular purpose. Spiritual realization and sex pleasure go ill together. Krishna conscious person is not attracted to any kind of sense pleasure due to being a liberated soul. That's a goal. When Krishna is explaining, okay, so we started that person who is in the knowledge of the three doers, goodness, doer of as jiva, material nature, or super soul, naturally seeks for Krishna's shelter, naturally seeks for liberation from the material clutches. And Krishna goes on to explain the symptoms of such a person who is in the liberated stage. And then this verse is very nice. Then detachment from external pleasures and focusing inward require an understanding that the material enjoyment is insubstantial and temporary. Right? We say, okay, this person has this symptom, that symptom, this symptom, but how do that person get there? By developing a happiness which is inward, which means that one is not attracted to the objects of sense pleasure. So Krishna explains this. Yehi samsparshaja bhoga dukkha yonaya evate adi antavanta kantaya nate shuramate buddha. It's a very nice verse. Yehi samsparshaja. Sparsha means touch. Right? In Hindi sparsha or Sanskrit sparsha means touch. Bhoga means enjoyment. So that enjoyment which comes with the touch of what? Senses and sense object. For example, somebody rejoices enjoyment in drinking liquor. So tongue is the sense and the liquor is the sense object. Right? So when the liquor touches the tongue or the sense object is touching the sense, then there is a sense of enjoyment. Krishna is talking about that, some sparshaja bhoga. But he's saying dukkha yonaya evate. Dukkha means misery. Yona, we discussed yonaya. Here Prabhupada explains yonaya means source of. If you read the translation, Prabhupada is explaining source of. So this particular enjoyment which arises from the object, touch, sparsha, of the senses and sense object is actually the source of misery. So how come it's a source of misery? We struggle so hard to acquire the objects of our senses. And Krishna is saying you're actually working hard towards earning your misery. How come? Because Krishna says again, because it is Adi Antavanta. Adi means beginning, Anta means end. Kantaya is son of Kunti or Arjun. Because such pleasures have a beginning and an end, O son of Kunti. Na teshu ramate buddha. Teshu means satisfaction. Ramate means enjoys or rejoices. Buddha means intelligent. So, an intelligent person does not take part in sources of misery which are due to contact with the material senses. O son of Kunti, such pleasures have a beginning and end, and so the wise man does not delight in them. Okay, so Krishna is saying that this person who is Buddha or intelligent or wise will not. So basically that person will be very intelligent and will not look at the combination of senses and sense object as a source of happiness, but as a source of misery. Yona, you see, this verse can be explained in so many nice ways. So yonaya is source of. So what is a source of, what we are thinking is a source of happiness is will actually turn into a source of misery. And then what we think of the source of misery will actually turn into the source of happiness. So we actually, the cycle perpetuates. Now, this is Namanish Prabhu's slides, of course. So he says in the animal kingdom, one sense is very prominent, right? So, for example, these flies or insects who have a sense of vision is very prominent. So the sense is vision, object is the light. So in the rainy season, they get attracted to the light, right? The sense is getting attracted to sense object. What happens? Because of the high temperature of the bulb, they attach themselves to the bulb and then they get fried, they die. Or in case of a deer, the sense of hearing is very prominent, right? How is a deer caught? Because the hunter is playing very nice tune on the flute. So the sense is the ear. The sense object is the noise or the music. So the sense gets attracted to sense object, and then the hunter loses, and then the deer loses its freedom. In bee, the sense of smell is very prominent, right? So that sense takes the little bee to this object, which is a flower, and to collect the nectar. But in the evening, when the sun sets, the flower closes. So it gets entrapped and dies. In fish, the sense of taste is very prominent, right? So how does a fisherman catches the fish? By throwing a bait. There's so much food under the water, but it gets attracted to the easiest way of getting the food, which is on the bait. So the sense gets attracted to the sense object, and then the fish gets caught. In such a big elephant, sense of touch is very prominent. So how does the elephant get caught? That the she elephant is taught to allure the big elephant, and then the hunter actually digs a hole in the earth and covers it up with the shoots on twigs and branches of the trees. The she elephant is trained to go around the pit, but this poor animal, falls down and gets caught. So in animal kingdom, one sense is very prominent. But what about us? All the senses are very prominent, all of them at the same time. So basically, Krishna used the word yesterday, city of 9 gates. So we're actually living in a very turbulent, unrested city of 9 gates. And then we are trying to see that our sources of happiness is outside, and then we are inviting more and more objects into that city, and we become more and more bewildered. Okay, so it's a very precarious condition, which if we don't have this particular knowledge given to us by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we will never know this. Is any school or college teaching us this? So many of people take pride in saying, I went to this college, I do this work, I do this. Are we learning this desire management? We learn so many management skills. Do we learn desire management? Anyone? Anywhere? You all are very
They teach
educated
us to
people.
be
No, Mataji.
desireful so that we can be, you to the economic progress.
That is also an illusion. Economic progress. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
also like a very big illusion. So because an imperfect person will only if it's only going to give imperfect solution. Okay, so what does Krishna say? What is the solution? Because one may develop understanding that this kind of object, sense and sense objects, combination of sense and sense objects produces happiness, which is actually a source of misery. But the desire may still be there. Understanding may be there at theoretical level, but the urges of the senses can still be there. So what does Krishna say? He says tolerate the agitations till the end of life. Before giving up this present body, if one is able to tolerate the urges of the material senses and check the force of desire and anger, he is well situated and is happy in this world. So this is like, if we want to be happy, there are so many books out there, right? How to be happy, how to rule over other people, how to win, how to, so many how-to books are out there. But actually what we need is this instruction that actually the problem is within me. If I can check the force of desire and anger, well situated and happy in this world. Tolerate. How do we tolerate? It's not easy. And how long? Krishna says tolerate until the death of the body. And how do we tolerate? By focusing his happiness and activities and goals inward. Very important to have a spiritual goal. I think we discussed this. I don't know, in this class or the Srimad Bhagavatam class, I heard from Swam Bhagavad Krishna Maharaj that what is the best alarm clock to wake up to? I guess I say this everywhere I go. What is the best alarm clock to wake up to? Is it like Apple
Purpose.
phone?
Purpose.
I think you have heard it from the other class. So let's give chance to others. Is it like a phone, like Apple phone, or a nice snoozing alarm clock? What is the best alarm clock to get up to every day?
We heard the answer. Purpose.
Okay. Yes. So purpose.
I heard from Keshav Maharaj lectures only, Mataji.
Very nice. Yeah. He's so nice, right?
He is
So-
excellent.
So purpose. That actually, if we don't have a purpose, then we will succumb to the moods. But if there is a purpose, and there is enthusiasm to follow that purpose, that is also very important. No, just setting is not important. What is that in our QI projects? We have a PDSA cycle, which is plan, do, S is what, and then A is action. I don't remember what is S now. I'll look up and I'll know. Which actually I was reading and I was like, yeah, this actually goes with the Krishna conscious activities too, that we plan, but we just don't like plan a purpose and then just put it out there in a book, but actually we actually work towards that purpose. And then we try to act on that purpose every day. So every day we join ISKCON every day again. Not like I've been with ISKCON for this much time. No. Every day we come back to it. So he engages in purifying his external activities by working for the benefit of others. Then one is assured liberation. One has to come out of their comfort zone. We cannot say that I don't have time to read scriptures, I don't have time to preach, I don't have time to interact with devotees. Then what do you have time for? In one lecture, I was hearing Prabhupada's class. This is very nice. So I remember. So Prabhupada was talking about making a very nice point, very important point. It looks like from the audio that somebody got up and Prabhupada pointed out, where are you going? Why are you getting up and leaving the class? Where are you going? What will you do? And Prabhupada said, what will you do? You will do sense gratification. Without hearing, you will do sense gratification. So why are you leaving the class? Prabhupada was saying, that's Prabhupada's class, okay, not this class. And then Prabhupada explains, if we don't hear, then Vigraha, Vigraha means, Archa Vigraha means the deities, right? The deities that we give by the mercy of the acharyas and the procedure to worship the deities to develop our attachment to the deities. He said, then the Archa Vigraha, if you don't hear from the spiritual master, then the Archa Vigraha will become Galagraha. Prabhupada said Galagraha. What does it mean? The Archa Vigraha will become Galagraha or pain in the neck. Galagraha is like pain in the neck. So our Guru Maharaj has given us this service, which has become pain in the neck. Why? Because I was not hearing. So unless and until we are fixed in that sound vibration, we can fall down any minute. We actually fall down throughout the day, right? It's like a sine wave. Sometimes early morning good, but as the night comes, it's like, okay, forget about everything. Let me just do what I want to do. The one who's now Krishna talks about. So we discussed that liberation focused on work. And one may develop a theoretical understanding, but the urges may still be there. Krishna says tolerate. How do we tolerate? How do we tolerate? By actually keeping a purpose, a goal in front, right? And working towards that goal with enthusiasm. The one whose happiness is within, who's active within, who rejoices within, and is illumined within, is actually the perfect perfect mystic. He is liberated in the supreme, and ultimately he attains the supreme. Very high stage, no? It feels like, will I attain this in this life? It's very high stage. This is Brahma Buddha stage, that actually there's nothing else is needed from outside. But this can be a checkpoint, that if I am affected by something external, and that's pulling me down, then I'm not keeping my purpose in the front, or I have to bring my purpose in the front again. Okay, when a person is actually knowledge that Krishna is the fountainhead of everything, then when he acts in that spirit, he acts for everyone. The sufferings of humanity are due to forgetfulness of Krishna as a supreme enjoyer, supreme proprietor, and supreme friend. This is on the purport of 25th verse. Okay, so 25th is like sadhana for attaining the liberation. That person who's free from the sins, free from the dualities, and so on. Free from anger, free from material desire, self-realized, self-discipline, constantly endeavoring for perfection, assured of liberation in the very near future. Basically, from verse 17 to 26, Krishna gives us an idea of how to get liberation through work, how to work towards it, actively work, which is more like karma yoga. So, free from anger and material desire. How do we get for free from anger and material desire? It does not mean becoming angerless and desireless. Does not. And don't extrapolate the meaning that way. What it means is that one is free from anger and all material desires, or the desires which will help me to continue my material existence. That kind of desire I'm free from. The anger which is coming from the mode of passion, degraded to mode of ignorance. That anger I'm free from. So self-discipline, because there's a purpose and I have a goal to achieve, I cannot be focused here and there. I have to preserve my energy to work towards that purpose. So constantly endeavoring for perfection. Okay, so these are very good qualities. So I'll take you through this slide. Tolerate the urges of senses and control desires and anger by acquiring higher taste. Why to tolerate? Krishna asks this. One must practice to control them before one gives up this material body to make steady progress on spiritual path and achieve transcendental bliss. So how to tolerate duties of a transcendentalist? By acquiring a higher taste, Brahmabhuta stage, to face happiness and enjoy happiness by factual experience within, no longer interested in material external happiness. What does it mean when I say external material happiness? What is it that you're taking home with? External material happiness? No longer interested in the external material happiness. What does it really mean to you?
Enjoying our senses.
Like how? A Krishna conscious person is also enjoying their senses, aren't we? Enjoying our senses. Who doesn't like prasadam? Next time you come to temple, don't go to eat prasadam because that's enjoying senses. Yeah? Tell me, I have a hard stop in half an hour. Mhm.
Anything that is not focused on Krishna's pleasure is all external material enjoyment. Anything that doesn't have Krishna in the center.
That's a general statement, Mataji. Give an example. Give an example. Specific example. In Nectar of Devotion, we will study. Rupa Goswami Prabhupada talks about principle-based and detail. So principle-based this is a principle-based answer. It's a right answer. It's not a wrong answer, but it's a principle-based answer. I'm talking about the detail here. Give a specific example. No longer interested in material external happiness. You can even, any one of you can even share something from your own life. Like, what was it that you were hankering and then you feel like the goal is redefined?
Longer,
Huh?
no longer dependent on Mataji. It could be like everything is, we can plan something, say I want to go somewhere, and that also is in Krishna's hand. Everything, is completely controlling everything. So that way, everything is what do I say? What do I say? Material sense enjoyment.
Okay.
Where
Okay.
there is
Good try.
Yeah.
Hare
I
Krishna
know.
Mataji.
Yes, Prabhu. Shiva Srinivas Prabhuji.
Yeah, it is something like I want to release food which
Your voice
like
is cutting.
independent of Lord.
Huh?
Okay. Is it audible, Mataji, now?
Yes.
Yeah, what I meant to say is like I will be the centric. Like anything I do. Like suppose I want to eat some delicious food.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas coming to Prasadam, the consciousness itself is different because it is offered to the Lord, and I am taking the remnant.
Very nice. Yeah, that's
So-
that's a specific example. Mhm.
Yeah, like in relation to with Krishna, or another is independent of relationship with.
Okay, so okay, one is independent of the relation with Krishna, another one is in relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yeah, so no longer interested. So we are no longer interested in going to a very big 5-star cuisine hotel to taste the objects, put the food on the tongue so that the happiness will come. The whole idea looks so bland, isn't it? Like it looks so bland that okay, go to that restaurant which has like 5-star rating or I don't know what, and try this cuisine over there. It doesn't attract anymore, right? Or go to this particular showroom to buy this particular heavy costumes or dresses. So a Krishna conscious person will pause and say, you know, put on this dress for what? What? For what am I going to do with it? So there's like, so we actually become very simple in our thinking, and because we become simple in our thinking, we become simple in our living. Okay, simple living doesn't come without simple thinking, and simple thinking doesn't come without having a higher taste. And higher taste doesn't come without practicing Krishna consciousness and of course the mercy. So duties of a transcendentalist is patiently they tolerate the urges. It's not that the transcendentalist doesn't get the urge. We get the urge, but there's this element of tolerance, and tolerance is a very dynamic quality. We can have a very nice discussion on what the tolerance is. It's not a static quality. Tolerance is dynamic. It grows. It actually changes. It's not like you can only tolerate this much. We can increase our tolerance for the urges of material desires as we become more and more advanced. Actually, that is the difference between an elevated devotee and a non-devotee. Right? It's not that the elevated devotee doesn't get the urges. They get it, but they are able to tolerate it. It just passes by. I think I gave example initially, which I'll give again here, is that, for example, imagine yourself sitting in a bus in Hong Kong, okay? And then their number one music video for the time is running in the bus. People who understand the language are very mesmerized with that music. They're singing, they're, getting so much enjoyment, but you don't understand the language. So what will you do? Will you get up and choke the driver until the driver turns the music off? Or what will you do? What will you do? You don't understand. It's not that you hate the music, but you just don't understand it. So what will you do sitting there? Am I audible? Is it such a hard question?
No, like request the driver to stop that.
Or you will get up and request even though you are in a foreign country and it's you who don't understand?
We can chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra in our mind, or little
Okay.
how we can hear
Yes.
it so that the music doesn't enter our ears. Only Mahamantra is there in our ears. Try and do that.
Oh, okay. What else will anyone do?
Just ignore it, Mataji. Just look out of the window or something and just ignore it.
Okay, very nice. So basically, what I'm hearing is that we are going to just tolerate it. Right? There's another example. Let's say you go on a vacation and you're staying in a hotel and you don't like the color of the wall of the hotel room. Or you don't like the painting. So what are you gonna do? You're there for 2 nights, but are you gonna go buy a paint and paint the walls of your choice? Or are you gonna change the painting because you just don't like the painting of the room? Are you gonna like put money and do all that effort for the 2 days that you're gonna stay there? Or you're gonna say, okay, I'm just gonna tolerate. What are you gonna do? What will you do?
Tolerate.
Tolerate.
Tolerate, right? It will be a foolish idea to go and change all those things. So a person who is situated in Brahmabhuta platform doesn't understand the language of sense gratification anymore. They get the urge. I've heard this from sannyasis when they talk in the class. They say it's not that the person doesn't get an urge or an idea because the conditioning is still there from the past life, but they don't understand the language. So there's this higher thing that there's this contemplation, there's this intelligence, there is this spiritual sense that what am I going to actually do with all this? Where is this going to lead me to? Nowhere. So then just let it pass, let it go. Okay. So strenuously try to control forces of desire and anger. Material desire, we studied this psychology yesterday. If not satisfied, leads to anger and then we become agitated. So Krishna makes our life harder and harder in this chapter. He puts up more and more every single verse as we are progressing. There is more and more difficult stage to acquire, in other words. So the qualifications in this verse is those who are beyond the dualities that arise from doubts, whose minds are engaged within. Krishna, sorry. Who are always busy working for the welfare of all living beings, free from all sins, achieve liberation in the Supreme. So this person who is not in duality, whenever I have a difficulty understanding a verse, I always think of Prabhupada. It becomes very easy. Somehow it works 100% of the time. Beyond the dualities that arise from doubts, Prabhupada is not in any duality. He's very focused on serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his spiritual master. Mind is engaged within. We don't hear Prabhupada. Ramanuja Prabhu told one time in the class, Prabhupada traveled the globe 14 times, never, and we have read Prabhupada's Lilamrita or the diary, the Hari Suri Prabhu's diary, in which he's keeping record of Prabhupada's daily affairs. But we never hear that Prabhupada said even one time that, okay, I'm going to take a break. Let's go for sightseeing. This place, that place. Very focused. His schedule was same everywhere he went because he was so energetic from the spiritual platform. Very busy in propagating Krishna consciousness. And we can only get that energy and busy services if we are actually progressing in Krishna consciousness. Okay, so far Krishna mentions about how to focus on the Supreme by work. Now he will focus on, he will mention Ashtanga Yoga, liberation through Ashtanga Yoga, which is actually a link to the next chapter. Practice of Ashtanga Yoga gives the same liberation. So he talks about the stages, which we will discuss more in the next chapter, sorry. So Sparshanam kritva bahirbhahyam chakshus chaivantare bruvoho prana apano samo kritva nashabhya antaracharino yate indriya mano buddhir munir moksha parayanaha viga techa bhaya krodho yaha sada mukta eva saha. Shutting out all external sense objects, keeping the eyes and vision concentrated between the two eyebrows, suspending the inward and outward breaths within the nostrils, and thus controlling the mind, senses, and intelligence. The transcendentalist aiming at liberation becomes free from desire, fear, and anger. One who is always in that state is suddenly liberated. Basically, somebody who's on a very gross material bodily platform has to work with the gross and subtle body to engage, to control. Okay, so Ashtanga Yoga is practices for devotees who are very strong in their bodily platform. So they have to shut down everything. So Yam Niyam Atyaha, Yam Niyam Dharana, Asan. We will discuss that in next chapter. What are the stages? But Krishna says, but this is for a bhakta. Okay, the liberation by focus on the Supreme in a life of a devotee. This is how a devotee gets liberated. So from 17 to 26 verse, liberation by focusing on Karma Yoga. Then 27 and 28 verses, liberation by focusing on Ashtanga Yoga. Verse 29 is liberation for the devotee or a person in Krishna consciousness. It's a very nice verse. Bhoktaram yagnatapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suhridam sarvabhutanam gyatva mam shantim rachiti. So Bhoktaram yagnatapasam. There are 2-3 meanings of this. So Bhoktaram yagnatapasam. One who yagya means austerities, tapasa means sacrifices, right? Bhokta means enjoyer. So one who knows Krishna as the enjoyer of all the yagyas or austerities. Yagyas is sacrifices, sorry, and tapasam is austerity. So we do all the sacrifices and austerities, but ultimately the enjoyer is Krishna. So this is for yagya is specifically sacrifices is for somebody in karma yoga, karma yogis, and tapasya or sacrifices, tapasya or austerities is somebody who is in the Gyan yoga platform. So this is, so it has two meaning. One meaning is one who considers Krishna as the ultimate enjoyer of all austerities and sacrifices. And then the other thing is, other understanding is that one who, this line is for a person who is a karma yogi and a Gyan yogi. They can, karma yogi will do sacrifices, Gyan yogi will do austerities, but do it for Krishna. Okay, Sarva Loka Maheshwaram. So proprietor of all planets and demigods. You see, the Ashtanga yogi is focusing on the Paramatma in the heart with this concept, with this consciousness. Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. So this is for Krishna, taking Krishna as the proprietor of the all planets and demigods. But and this is also for Ashtanga yogi indication that okay, you look at me. You're practicing this particular asana, particular samadhi, but look at me, concentrate on me as the, or Krishna as the proprietor of all planets and demigods. Suhridam Sarva Bhuta Nam, supreme well-wisher of all the living entities. So supreme well-wisher of all the living entities is the object of worship for the devotee, because the devotee is looking for a relationship with the Supreme Personality, right? Sambandha Gyan, Abhidey Gyan, and Prayojan Gyan. So Sambandha Gyan is the first step in bhakti, as Jiva Goswami Prabhupada explains. So Suhridam Sarvabhutanam. So a devotee is relishing relationship with Krishna as the well-wisher, supreme well-wisher of all living entities. Gyatva Mam Shanti Rachati. One who understands me in that way attains Shanti or relief from all material miseries. And this is the Prabhupada talks about three things in this verse. One is that considering Krishna as the enjoyer of all the sacrifices and austerities, considering Krishna as the proprietor of all the demigods and planets, considering Krishna as the supreme well-wisher of all living entities. One who does these three things can attain peace, not by opening an increasing number of flags in United Nations. Prabhupada said he went to New York United Nations office and then only the number of flags are increasing. So the sages, knowing me as the ultimate purpose of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme lord of all planets and demigods, the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attain peace from the pangs of material miseries. And if we are not peaceful, then go back and see, what am I missing? Where is my proprietorship? Okay, so this is what you discuss in this chapter. It's a small chapter, but it's a power-packed chapter. So Arjun asked the question, Krishna explains. I think one Mataji was very nice to explain today. Nishkam Karma Yoga is easier than renouncing work. Then 7 to 12, we understood the symptoms of a Nishkam Karma Yogi and how to perform Nishkam Karma Yoga. Then yesterday we read till 13, 14, 15, 16, the knowledge of the three doers. Then today we started somebody who has this knowledge of the three doers, somebody who is a Nishkam Karma Yogi, will naturally become interested in liberation. So 17 to 26 is liberation by focus on the Supreme, which is basically for Karma Yogi. 27 to 28, liberation through Ashtanga Yoga, which is basically for Ashtanga Yogi. 29th verse, peace on the platform of liberation, which is for Bhakta Yogi, but also Krishna is including the verdict for Karma Yogi, Gyan Yogi, and Ashtanga Yogi also. Okay, so we finished the chapter here. Any questions, reflections, or realizations or corrections? think we got over 10 minutes early.
Mataji, sorry if I'm asking this thing again. Three doers means what?
Remember we discussed yesterday the soul, the super soul, and the material nature. The soul desires, the super soul sanctions, and the material nature brings forth the objects.
Okay,
So those three doers.
got it. Thank you.
Questions, reflections, realizations, or corrections?